Hello everyone, welcome back. In this tutorial, we'll walk through the steps to configure and connect to an Amazon Aurora Serverless V2 database instance. We'll follow Amazon's documentation, which provides a step-by-step guide on how to create an Aurora Serverless instance and how to connect it using a Cloud9 environment. Amazon Aurora is a relational database service that supports PostgreSQL and MySQL-compatible databases. It offers the performance and availability of an enterprise-level database at a fraction of the cost. Aurora Serverless V2 is an on-demand, auto-scaling configuration that adjusts based on your application's needs. This means you'll only pay for what you use while still benefiting from high availability, scalability, and speed. Traditionally, managing databases involves a lot of guesswork, planning for unpredictable storage and compute needs, and keeping excess capacity online for sporadic workloads like development or testing. With Aurora Serverless V2, that guesswork is eliminated. It scales database storage and compute power as needed and shrinks them when less is required, so you're billed on a per-second basis only when your database is active. With just a few clicks in the Database Management Console, you can seamlessly switch between provisioned and serverless configurations. Previously, when creating a database instance, we tended to over-provision to avoid potential performance issues. For example, if an application experienced an increase in traffic, we wanted to make sure the database could handle the load, even if real-world usage was much lower than what we prepared for during performance testing. Aurora Serverless V2 dynamically scales up when there's a surge in demand and scales down when it's no longer needed, which is incredibly efficient. Now, let's move on to the next part of this tutorial. Let's dive into the implementation, which has 4 stages. Create an Aurora Serverless V2 DB cluster. Create a Cloud9 environment as the client. Enable network access between the Cloud9 environment and the DB cluster. Connect to the Aurora Serverless V2 DB cluster. Step 1. Create an Aurora Serverless V2 DB cluster. Head over to the AWS Management Console, search for RDS, and select Databases from the left-hand navigation. Then, click on Create Database. For the database creation method, select Standard Create. In the engine options, choose either Aurora PostgreSQL compatible or Aurora MySQL compatible, depending on what you're familiar with. The steps will be similar for both. For templates, select dev/test. Enter a DB cluster identifier, set up your master username and password, and choose Serverless V2 under the instance configuration. Set the minimum ACU to 0.5 and the maximum to 8, depending on your needs. Leave the connectivity settings to default and select your VPC. Deselect Performance Insights unless you need them for your use case. Click on Create Database to finish. Wait until the status of your DB cluster changes to Available. Copy the endpoint details from the Connectivity and Security section, as you'll need this later. Step 2. Set up Cloud9 environment. Next, we will create a Cloud9 environment. In AWS, go to Cloud9 and choose Create Environment. Name your environment, e.g., My Cloud9 environment. Choose an EC2 instance for the environment type. Select the VPC you used for your Aurora DB cluster. Create the environment and open the Cloud9 IDE. Step 3. Enable network access. To enable network access from Cloud9 to your Aurora DB, we need to configure the security groups. Go to the VPC dashboard, select Security Groups, and find the group assigned to your DB instance. In the inbound rules, add a rule for MySQL/PostgreSQL, depending on your DB engine, and set the source as the security group of your Cloud9 environment. Step 4. Connect to Aurora Serverless V2 now. Return to the Cloud9 terminal. Use the following command to connect to your database. Enter your password when prompted. You're now connected to your Aurora Serverless V2 DB. You can start running SQL queries such as show databases. Your database will automatically scale up if your queries require more resources, and this won't disrupt any active connections. And that's it. We've covered how to create an Aurora Serverless V2 database and connect to it using Cloud9. This setup allows you to manage your databases more efficiently without needing to provision infrastructure manually. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more cloud-related tutorials.